Welcome or welcome back to the channel. My name is Oliver Thomas Robert Bernard Thorpe, but if you smash the like button for the YouTube algorithm, you can call me Olley. If you are new here, this is a segment of the show that I like to bring on people that I'm interested and motivated by, that are doing their thing in different niches and industries. And in today's episode, I speak with Lewis, who is a young guy from Essex in the property niche, and he is absolutely killing it. Got a very, very interesting story, so I hope you enjoy it. If you do enjoy it, smash the subscribe button, smash the like button, and I shall see you in the episode. Peace. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Designer Future podcast. I've got Lewis on today. Lewis, go ahead and introduce yourself for me.
Hi everyone, my name's Lewis. So I'm 19 years old, nearly 20, and I'm work in the property industry. So I work for a property investor, and then I'm also just started my own business about 4 months ago. So yeah, it's exciting.
Amazing.
I'm glad to be on.
Amazing. Well, we just were speaking a little bit before I went and hit the record button. Tell me a little bit about what you used to do beforehand and how you sort of got into the property game.
Yeah, so I mean, funnily enough, it was ice skating, believe it or not. So I've skated ever since I was 8 years old. So I do all of the ballerina on ice sort of things. So jumping, spinning, all that sort of stuff, wearing those lycra tops, those skin tight tops with the sequins on. I've done competitions with that. But it was only about 4 years ago that I started doing, I used to do like pantomimes, like ice pantomimes, ice shows. So last 2 years ago, I was Prince Charming on ice for Cinderella. That was fun. But I now work for a mentor, and the way I met my mentor was his son is also an ice skater, and he was a chaperone for the boys, because there's a few boys who skate my local club. And at that time, it was about 4 years ago that we started talking and realised that to be fair, before property, I thought the only way you get rich is through banking. Is you go and work in a bank, be a stockbroker and investment banker, and do that. And I mean, I realise now that I'm totally wrong. You can do just about anything. But funny enough, my mentor Andrew, he's been an investment banker for 25, 30 years. He's retired now, but it's just from talking to him, I realised that, and I was just asking more and more questions. He took an interest in me because I was asking a bunch of questions about it, and it just stemmed from there. And then he told me he was doing property. He's retired now. He does a little bit of property on the side, and it just stemmed from there. He offered me like a summer job doing like paperwork stuff and admin stuff, and it's just 4 years later, I'm now there 5 days a week, and I'm like the almost like in-house management almost for him. So I do a lot of the admin. So it's primarily admin work, but it's I'd rather do that and learn from someone who's been there and done it than a manager who's probably not got my best interests at heart. But yeah, so it's really stemmed from like making friends at ice skating to talking to a couple people, and then and now 4 years later I've started my own business. It's still fairly new, and it's going through the hurdles of figuring out how I get my first deal and how to spend money on marketing, which one to do that, and just learning. I've made lots of mistakes, and it's just a big learning curve starting a new business at so young, because I've jumped straight into a career rather than most people go to uni and then decide what career they want to go in. And I've just gone,
mate.
Right,
honestly, I think I come across you on Instagram initially, and yeah, like obviously you look kind of young as well, and that's what I mean. So you got like a baby face, and you talk about property, and I think it's incredible, and I think that's so important for the people watching and listening. Is like, yeah, like you think you need to go to uni to get into these sort of profiles, but it's sort of like it goes back to when push comes to shove, your network is your net worth sort of thing, and the fact that you was networking at an ice skating rink and managed to start speaking to someone, and I think that's incredible. Before I jump into sort of like the usual questions that I have, did you ever work a job before? Obviously, like, you was pretty young. You're 16, so you never actually been in like a job position, or you've gone straight through into that role?
Yeah, so I've had a few jobs, like part-time jobs, because obviously in the beginning I was only round my bosses for say 1 or 2 days a week after school. But like, for example, I've worked as soon as I turned 16, and I was able to get a job. I got a job in the local trampoline park, which has killed my back and all that.
Your spins.
Yeah. So I've done that. and then I stick to that for about 8 months, and then that's when my boss gave me some more hours, so I was able to quit that. And then I've done little jobs like Christmas jobs at John Lewis, and recently I was a furniture salesman for like 8 months, and that was like a weekend job just to get a little bit extra money. But I'm now like, well, not full time, but everything is working for my boss and now working on my own business. So it's got to the point where I can do enough hours that I can pay my bills and save some money, but then also
have the time as well. That's the biggest thing as well. And I think that's so important as well for like young people as well. Is like, don't be afraid to go and get like your 9 to 5 and just like grind out in your hours outside of that position as well. And especially if you're like Lewis and you can get something where it's like a couple days a week and then supplement it with like a weekend job, but then all of those hours in between you can just be on your own thing. So the business now, obviously, are you getting into what, like HMOs, property, like renting them out?
Yeah. So what I do, so I'm a property sourcer. I think we've talked to a couple of property sourcers before. So essentially, just for reference for everyone, so I act as the middleman. So where if you've got cash-rich investors and time-poor investors, they want to put their money into a cash flow and asset or an income-generating asset. They don't want to spend the time going up and down the country looking for properties, especially if they're based in the southeast and London area. They want to put their money into it and not have to touch it. So what I'm planning on doing and what I'm trying to do is I'm based in Essex. However, where my boss's portfolio is in Newcastle, so I've got quite good knowledge on the Newcastle area and which places are good, which places are bad. So what I'm planning on doing is finding and searching, negotiating and securing a property at a certain price. So doing all the legwork almost. They obviously purchase the property, then I'll manage the refurb, and then we'll help let it out, and we'll also offer property management. So it's completely like turnkey offering. So it's the best of both worlds. You've got a hands-off investment, but you're not having to like spend lump sums doing it yourself and painting and going up there and painting the walls and all that sort of stuff.
Cool. So you're gonna have someone like yourself who day in, day out is in that field and is truly very, very passionate about what they're doing. So did you sort of like get your hands dirty with the refurbs and that as well, or is it finding?
It's more finding, because mate, I'm crap at painting. I can't even paint my own room, let alone do a refurb. So it's definitely easier if I just pay someone to do it. But we've done a few refurbs for my boss's portfolio, because he buys more turnkey stuff that you can just buy and just put tenants in. But yeah, what's crap. But yeah, it's I'm going towards the more finding something that needs doing up, adding value, and then pulling some of the money out, and majority of the money out. So it's called buy, refurb, rent, refinance. So it's just like a little business strategy model, and it does work. And we're currently looking at a property now that we should be able to do that with. So it's looking promising. It's just there's obviously you've got to have the funds available to be able to do it. So a lot of the time you can't get a mortgage on a buy, rent, or buy, refurb, rent, refinance, because like mortgages, they have to be habitable to be able to. They want you to be able to rent them out as soon as possible. So you normally need like a bridging loan, which is a quick loan from a private lender, but is normally more expensive. It's normally between 0.75% and 1% a month, whereas a mortgage is 3.29% over the term. So it's more expensive, but you get that cash flow. You get that cash almost instantly, or you can go down the route of finding cash investors who can just buy it in one go, and then fund the whole thing and then put a mortgage on the end of it. And that's the whole idea of it, is try and do it as much as you can yourself, and then put a mortgage on it at the end, and then you obviously get your money back and you can do it again. So you only need, if you do it smart, if you do it well enough, you can have a pot of 50k, and you might be able to get maybe 3-4 houses out of it, whilst like leaving a tiny bit of money in. So that's the whole plan, and that's what I'll be planning on doing when I start buying my own properties, is building up my pot and then doing that, so I can get as much money, get as much properties out of my money almost. But yeah.
Amazing. And I think that's obviously you're like in that niche and you're just head on just looking at that. But what's potentially like one key thing you'd say when it comes to like the investment side of things? Because obviously that must seem very scary to someone if they come on, they found this video, for example, thinking, okay, I want to get into property investment, because I know a lot of people say like you need to use other people's money, and that's obviously what you've sort of just explained. But what's sort of like your process? And I know obviously you said you haven't done it yet, but you're learning it, and you know you're constantly improving. But what's maybe one thing that you've learned along the way when it comes to finding investors for these sort of deals?
Yeah, so I think the majority of my investors, all of my investors, apart from my boss, have come from social media. And because I started my business in August, I haven't been able to go to physical networking events. So it's been Zoom calls and just talking over Instagram and reaching out to people who have like cool projects. And I'm like, because I'm passionate about every type of property, whether it's just boring buy-to-let or you've got a big commercial conversion that you're putting up 15 flats in. Like I like all of it, like the whole spectrum. So I'm always like reaching out to people, seeing how they do things, because there's more than one way to make money. And I've explained that when we were talking earlier. I thought the only way you make money is if you work in a bank, but you do anything. And that's the same with property. There's so many different strategies. There's the rent to rent, where you just rent the property and then put it on a management contract. There's the what I do, sourcing, acting as a middleman. Again, those two probably need the least amount of money to get started. And then obviously you've got the main investment strategies as well. So HMO, buy-to-let, and then commercial conversions and all that sort of jazz. But yeah.
Amazing. I've got another little question for you before I get into these. What's your opinion on, I think his name's Samuel Leeds. You must have heard of him, obviously, in the property game.
Yeah.
Because I watched quite a lot of his videos, but I know there's a lot of, I wouldn't say hate, but obviously there's quite a lot of controversial
opinions.
Lots of opinions, I would say, because I watch it and I'm like, the guy seems all right. I don't know what everyone's sort of thinking about.
I mean,
is it just haters? Is it just trolls? Is it like, what's your opinion?
I think there's a mixture of all things. I can't knock the guy. He's doing brilliant. He's smashing it. And he's obviously targeting the people who want to learn about property, not property investors already.
Exactly. So it's the property investors that are getting the hairs up.
But I think it's like I said, I can't knock him. But for me, I haven't paid to learn any of this. Yes, I've been fortunate enough to have a mentor.
Yeah, you've had someone that's around you.
I mean, I get paid to learn because I work for him, and I get paid to learn how to do it. But yeah, a lot of people don't have that, and I realise that. But I think a lot of people, because I think he does slightly play on the get rich quick side, which is understandable.
It's YouTube as well, right? Like you can understand it, like.
But yeah, I think if you've got, say you're another young person like me, you've got all the time in the world to learn how to do that. All it takes, I watched his YouTube videos to begin with, just to learn all the basics and learn and just pick little bits out of videos. And I'll read blogs and I'll listen to podcasts and I'll just pick little bits out, and that's how I build my knowledge. I haven't paid. I think I've paid for one course that was like £25, and it was all right. It weren't the best course. Sure. It was just to pick bits out again. And a lot of courses, they don't have the full picture. They don't tell you how to do from A to Z. Sure. So again, it's piecing them together, and that's what.
But you could also see the value in, say, for example, another young guy like yourself paying for an hour of your mentor's time.
Yeah. So I'd rather, if someone came to me and was like, I want to pay for education, I want to pay for someone's knowledge, I wouldn't say go on a course. because it's a pre-recorded. It's
Yeah.
general. It's not directed to that certain person's requirements or their situation. I'd rather someone go out and find someone who's done it. So if someone came to me, like a young person came to me and said they wanted to pay for education or pay to learn about property to get a more streamlined process to it, I wouldn't say buy a course, because a lot of the courses are like $2,000 and like $5,000, and it's like stupid money. Like, I would never pay that sort of money unless it was a very niche course on something that I wanted to learn about. But I'd rather someone go out and find someone who's done it and does it well, and then offers mentorship, or even if they don't offer mentorship, ask, can I have 2 hours of your time? 100%. And sometimes you don't even need to pay. Like the amount of people I've just asked to help or asked a question, because it's like that.
And I think that's the same. Is like, because if someone comes to you, for example, what you're going to say to them, if you give me X amount, no, because you're so passionate about it. And I find like that is the same with pretty much any industry as well. It's like when someone's passionate about it, and that's how people learn as well. Like if Lewis then teaches someone else, like Lewis is gonna learn so much. And it's the same with me. Like when I have coaching students, I like, not that it sounds a bit weird to say, but it's like you learn from teaching as well, because you're teaching yourself, exactly. You're doing it. So no, I think that's really good. What's one unique thing that you've done that you're certain none of my previous guests have done? Whether that's in business or personal, just in general.
I don't know. I mean, personal. I don't think many people. I've won the British Championships for pairs in pair skating. I don't know if many property people have done that. But in property side,
you should brand yourself as like the biggest skating property sorcerer.
But no, I think on the property side, I'm great that I'm like in a fortunate position where I'm now managing, I don't know, I think it's 20 buy-to-lets now in-house. And that's my main job, is to manage my boss's portfolio. And at such an early age, that's such a great, because I learned the process of tenant onboarding process. When a tenant leaves, the checkout process. We've got a tenant leaving today, actually. So over the weekend, we'll have people in, we'll have new safety certificates done, we'll have some painting done, and we'll have a bit of the kitchen flooring fixed, etc., just for the new tenants to get ready. But yeah, I think I wouldn't say it makes me unique. I just think I've got that I'm in that situation where it's such a good opportunity to learn from, and I think not a lot of people my age have that. And it's a great opportunity to learn from, like I said. But yeah.
Definitely, mate. Definitely. If you had to delete all but 3 apps from your phone, what 3 apps would you keep? I see you're big into Trello. We'll get into that later.
Yeah. So I think I post about this. My 3 favorite apps I use Notion now instead of Trello.
Okay.
So I use that.
We got to jump into that before you name the other 2, because I've mate, it's the same what you say. Like, use the like shiny object syndrome of like stuff coming up, but I see everyone using Notion. I'm slowly like drip feeding different stuff into it. Sorry, go on. Just that. I've literally
Notion
the last couple of days.
Yeah. So Notion. What's the other one? Probably it's really boring, but Google Drive. I live off Google Drive. Like everything, all my finances, all my like sourcing resources, all my property stuff, everything is on my Google Drive. And then my third one, what was it? It's probably, I'm not sure. It's it'd be like Instagram or something, because that's the main social media I use for. I think I overtook my personal page like 2 months into doing this property thing, because I barely use my personal one, because there's nothing to talk about. I don't think I'm that interesting. I'm like, all I do is sit in my room and work. So I don't think there's much to post about on my personal one. But on property, you could do like infographics. The majority of my page is like infographics, and it's just sharing what I've learned and what I'm learning and what current tools I'm using, because like everyone's trying to learn how to like be the most like efficient like systems, etc. And that's pretty much what I share, and I share tips and whatnot. But yeah, if I didn't have Instagram, I wouldn't have my small investor list that I have now. And I think it's those three mainly. But yeah, Notion is my Bible now. It has everything in it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. I am, because I'm a big Trello person. Like I always have, and I have like everything. You know, I have like different boards for like YouTube videos, CRM for the business, just like a workflow for team members. I have mad stuff going on in there, and going into Notion, I do like it. I do like it, but I don't know why I've sort of been going back and forth, because Notion seems like not basic, because it ain't basic. It's got a lot more inside of it than Trello, but I just feel Trello is like more user friendly at this point for me. I've slowly started moving everything over to it. So
yeah, it does take a little while to set up
into it. Yeah, and the main thing that I've noticed as well with it is I use a shitload of automation, like like Zapier, stuff like that.
Yeah,
that was the main reason I haven't moved everything over there, because you can't do any Zapier integration. And I'm sure they'll bring that in at some point. So I'm just waiting for that, because there was a lot of Zapier things that I didn't even realize that I was really using until I then tried to move everything over, and I was like, no, that's not going to work. As a child, what did you want to be, and how does that sort of differ to what you're doing now?
I mean, so I can't have, so I don't, with my family, so it's just me, my mum and my sister. So we've got so I've got extended family, but at home it's just me, my mum and my sister. So we're not like we're not poor by any means, but we're definitely not comfortable. If that makes sense. So it's definitely, I think I've always seen, not that there's been a money struggle, but there hasn't been enough, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
There's always like
always getting by, sort of.
Yeah. That's what we do. We get by, but I think early on, my biggest goal is to buy my mum a house, and I think I've had that since I was in high school. But from the start of high school, is buy my mum a house, and I think from early on, I think I went through the stage of wanting to be a pilot in the RAF and then it slowly stemmed into business, because I was like, how do I make money? It's because that's the main thing, because it's something I don't necessarily have a lot of, and I haven't seen a lot of it in my early childhood. It's like, I want money. It's definitely a big factor, but I don't want money just because I want money. I want money to buy my house, and I want the comfort, and I think my whole thing is around the comfort level. Is I don't like it when I've only got a couple £100 in my bank. I like it when I've got a couple grand saved up, and if something does go tits up, I can use that, and I don't have to worry about it. And I've seen how, because I think now I've seen almost two entirely different end of the spectrum. So
I was going to say,
I've got
it's like Rich Dad Poor Dad, real life.
Yeah. It's literally, I live in like a small 2-bedroom flat, council flat, and I then go around to my boss's house, which is this like massive 5-bed like house in the rural area of Essex, and it's like, wow. And it's just, I see what he's able to do, and I see that he's not having he doesn't work now, and I pretty much do all the property stuff. He just signs the papers and we have a chat, and that's about it. And I've seen what wealth, rather than money, I see what wealth can bring and the income it can bring, and it's like, I want that. And I've stepped up my expectation 10 times now, and it's like, it's definitely been, and I think that's why a lot of people, because they don't see that other end of the spectrum, they just, this is just life. This is what life's meant to be like.
Exactly.
They see the rich, they see the rich people on TV. It's like, I don't know how they've done that. I can't do that. But because I had that drive to begin with for that money, or for the wealth, and to build wealth, and then now I've seen it and I know how it works, and I'm in it like every day. Like, it's just that extra push almost. And it's I know it's possible because my boss started from exactly the same position as me. He lived with his mum in a council flat in East London, and it's literally like he's built up multiple businesses, and he's worked for banks, etc., etc. And now he's not having to work, and he's a family man. And that is the end goal, is to not have to worry about, is to be financially free. And it's not to have to worry about money, and to be at that comfort level where it's you can spend a couple grand on crap and you don't really have to worry about it. But at the moment, it's still, I've got a long way to go, but that's the end goal. That's the vision board. Is I don't want anything. I don't want to be like multi-millionaire. That I mean, it'd be great, but I want to be comfortable. And I just want to. Biggest thing for me is like generational wealth. But I don't care if I had to work until I'm 60, but the next 3 generations after me don't have to lift up a finger if they don't want to. That's the main thing for me. I'd rather do that than like waste my money when I'm alive and do all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, amazing, man, amazing. I'm so chuffed for you, honestly. With that sort of being said, like because I think that's really cool as well. Like you've said, like coming from some like humble beginnings in a sense, and seeing how the other half sort of live. What has it obviously has changed your mindset on money? That goes without saying, but how has it affected you in terms of like spending money? Because like you said, maybe when you didn't have a lot of like, when you had less, was you like spending more in a sense? You know what I mean? Like people like trying to like, because I feel like that's one of the main things when I speak to people is like, the more money I made, it was like the more money I wanted to save, or the more frugal I became. Because I don't know if you must watch Graham Stephan at some point. If
I love it.
Yeah. So like, I always love his videos where he's like I won't even pay $1 for my coffee. So how has that affected you in terms of like your financial literacy as well? Because you're learning real estate, but you know you've got to learn the accounting side of things, you know, and getting obviously clued up on money itself.
Definitely, I mean, financial literacy finance is the biggest factor in property. It's if you can manage your finances and the cash flow right, you're going to be able to fund almost every deal. So it's definitely a big factor, and it's something I'm still figuring out, but I'm a lot better at it now. Mainly because, like say, when I had a part-time job and I had that little bit extra income, it was I can spend some money on some shoes. Or when I was still in high school, almost like you try and impress people you don't really like, and it's like I bought Yeezys, and I bought them designer stuff, and I bought the mallets. Yeah, and it's I mean, the materialistic.
You're from Essex as well, so it's got to be worse.
Yeah, and it's like nice to have, but now I earn a little bit more than what I did then, but I save 60% of my income, and I've only just started giving myself an extra 80 quid a month to spend on rubbish. Like other than that, everything is. I think my bills are £400 because I still live at home. I have to pay rent to help out, but 400 a month is bills, and then the rest goes into savings and emergency pot, and that I've just been able to start to do that now. So I think I'm a bit tight, but I'll still spend some money if it's important enough. I think I take off my granddad. He's pretty tight as well. So
Well, I think that is like that's the way. It's like living below your means as well.
Yeah.
It's like you do get to a point where you're like, is that like you said, like the Yeezys? Did that really make you happy? No, probably not. Like pair of shoes out of Primark probably would have went down a treat.
Yeah, exactly.
And then like spending time doing stuff with your family, and like you said, make it like taking your mum out for dinner or something is going to go a lot further than the pair of Yeezys.
Yeah, exactly.
No, that's cool. Amazing.
Yeah.
If someone landed on this video, for example, and they're just looking into property, or even jumping onto Instagram, because I know obviously you said you're creating a lot of content on Instagram. So what would like your advice be for getting started on social media? I would say would be the best bit.
I don't know, because I mean I've only started a good question. I only started my Instagram page at the start of lockdown, like first
really?
lockdown,
Oh,
because
cool.
I got bored. My personal page was becoming so much property that I wasn't seeing my mates.
Yeah.
And it was like, I'm just looking at houses all day long. So I unfollowed all of them, and then I created one just for property that I was just going to follow people on. weren't even going to post.
Mm-hmm.
And then I posted like an introduction post, which is still on there today. If you scroll right down to the bottom, you can see my first post. And it was just telling everyone a bit about me. And then it got some likes, and it got more comments than I normally do on my personal posts. So I was like, people actually might want to like listen to me.
Is there in the niches of that?
Yeah, and then I posted another one, and now like 70, 80 posts later, I've got just over 50. I think I'm on 1,500 followers. But that's just since the start of lockdown, and it's. I think I would only say to get into social media if you've got something to talk about. Almost, there's no point just like personal pages are right because it's you're showing what you're doing and whatnot. But if you're trying to, there's no point doing an Instagram page or a Facebook page or whatever it is if you've not got something to like your focus. And if you're just talking about crap all day, nobody's going to listen to you. Whereas I've chosen property because that's what I'm into and that's my job and whatnot. So I'm able to talk about something, and then other people interested in that, whether they invest in property or not, or they're just interested in property in general, they can follow me and see what I'm doing, see if I mean, a lot more people doing it a lot better than me. I'm still starting out, but if they can pick up one tip from me, then that's brilliant. But yeah, I think if you've got something that you're passionate about, I mean, I'd just create a Facebook page about it. If it's fitness, I mean, you see all these Gymshark people that they just post stuff at the gym. And it's like baking. You put what you're baking every day or whatnot, and it's everything. It's like
yeah, completely. Yeah, it's the same as me. Like, obviously, I worked in a gym and I had my fitness page, and then I started my business.
Oh yeah.
I was like, yeah, it doesn't really make sense for me to be like posting workouts to then posting stuff about how to run Facebook ads or something like that. It doesn't make sense. What's one thing you found like works best when it comes to like creating systems? I know we briefly spoke about Trello and Notion and stuff, but for the people watching and listening that have no idea what either of those are, like what are you sort of doing within those apps, and how does that help you on your day to day?
Yeah, so I mean, like Notion, like I use Notion, which is I don't know how you'd explain it. It's a platform that you can almost create like a wiki almost of your little thing, and you can put all the things you want. So, and it also includes like tables, like boards like Trello. It has all sorts, has calendars, etc., etc. So what I'm able to do is the systems I'd normally just have on Excel or like tracking like spreadsheets or whatever it is, I'm able to put that on Notion and I'm able to track it. And Notion then has the ability to remind you on certain things. So it's just a little bit more smarter than a spreadsheet, and it's got that extra little like interactions and those extra features, which is what I like about it. But like on the process side, I think the last 4 months that's pretty much done a lot of like the process and like systems and understanding. Because for me, if I don't understand something, I'm not going to want to do it. Because if I like mess something up, it's like end of the world almost. So I think I'm a perfectionist, and that was my latest post was like procrastination. My biggest challenge biggest business challenge was myself and my procrastination. Because if I can't perfect something, I then put it off, and it's like, oh, I can't do it just yet because I don't know how to do it, and I'll get it later, and it's just tomorrow becomes never, and it's like, and then I look back at my to-do list and it's like, oh. Cool. But yes, but now I'm getting better at it. I've been reading Think and Grow Rich, and that's like reset my mindset a little bit, and I've got that desire. That desire, and it's now I've got that plan now. So it's putting those two together and getting the results. So it's like the systems. I've got a sourcing process. So if I've got a lead, I know the process to then be able to package it, negotiate it, etc. I've got I'm building out like the investor onboarding process at the moment. It's just certain things, And I think if you've got a process if you build a process yourself while you're still building a business, when you bring someone else on, they can just follow the process, and it's just that a little bit easier to teach and onboard staff. So that's why I'm doing it all now. And it's a little bit work, and I probably could be spending more time. I can be spending more time on the income generating stuff, like talking to agents, talking to investors, finding deals. But I mean, COVID's not really helped very much. So I've had that time to spend on the admin stuff and the back end stuff, which is equally important. But it's the building blocks of, I think, a business. And whilst mine is still very new, I know that I'll be able to use that when I get my first member of staff, my first little helper, to then teach them how to do it, so I don't have to do my admin, and they can just manage the Notion stuff, and I can just log into it and I see what properties I've got to view that day or what offers I'm putting in. And it's just building that system, so you don't have to start from scratch when you've got a new member of staff. It's just that cycle almost.
Exactly. And I think that's so important where you're saying about you actually documenting the processes. Like one thing that I do when it comes to processes, I'd literally just screen record my screen the whole time I'm doing stuff, and then you can do. That's why I love YouTube as well. Like, people look at YouTube and they think that everything is as it looks, but a lot of people, like, I use YouTube, there's so many unlisted videos on my YouTube of like 2-hour videos of me like breaking stuff down, like literally walking through stuff. No, that's amazing. You've sort of like touched on this, talking about Think and Grow Rich, but I'm going to ask, if you can only read one book for the rest of your life, what would that book be? And you know what, I would funnily enough probably put Think and Grow Rich up there, because it's a book that I've read. It's probably one of the only books that I've read twice.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm not a huge reader just because I don't have the patience to read a book and sit down and read. Don't mind it, but like at the moment, I'm listening to Think and Grow Rich. I found a free Audible on Spotify, so I don't have to even pay for it. I'm just going through them, and I'll listen to it while I'm driving to work, and then when I'm driving home from work. And I think I'm on chapter 10 now, and it's only been like a week. But yeah, I think Think and Grow Rich is definitely up there. I've got one book about it's called Great Thinkers, and it's like a philosophy book. And it literally goes from like all the like Socrates and all like the ancient philosophers up to like more current like modern day philosophers, and it's just seeing how other people think and their other views, etc. It's quite a fat book. It's like solid, but yeah, and it gives a little more insight into how other people think and other people's opinions. And that's another thing I mentioned about philosophy and all that sort of stuff, and like how people are not. It's almost like Think and Grow Rich, because Think and Grow Rich is like a philosophy book. If you think about it, it's people's habits and people's life events and whatnot to get to be successful. Like the rules of being successful. That's what I'm interested in almost.
I think there's definitely some value to grab out of you from this as well. It's like obviously reading those type of books, yeah, cool. But you know, you've literally said to me about your mentor and stuff. Like, okay, cool. It's good to have him when it comes to learning about the property and stuff. But what have you learned from your mentor when it comes to like stuff that you wouldn't tell me about the property stuff? So like what you just told me about habits and routines and stuff like that. Like, I'm guessing there's a lot that you've sort of picked up from him when it comes to that.
Yeah, no, I mean, the way I describe him, he's like a machine almost. He's from the get-go. He told me the way he became successful was everyone else works to this standard, like the baseline standard, and he aims for up here. And it's bringing those habits to be a high performance worker, and that's what he's a high performance person in anything you do, anything he does, and I think that's what he's trying to distill in me. I'm a bit slow to it, but I'm getting there. But yeah, we don't just talk about property. He helps me with like if I get stressed, or if I get like, I'm not super anxious, but there's a little bit of anxious I get about certain things, and that causes the stress and whatnot. And he's able to help out with those things because he's been there and done it again, and he's gone through it himself. So it's definitely, I mean, I don't know what price I would be able to pay for something like that. It's like priceless. But yeah, he's like a mentor in everything, because when you describe like the perfect life almost, well, not like the perfect life, but like that's what I would like describe it as. Everything that he's done and everything he's got at the moment is what I aim to be like, and it's because he's my role model now, and we're so close that it's like all I've got to do is
you've got that proof of concept as well, right? Like what you said, like before, you only know what you know, but you're like, shit, like this guy's done it. He's you can see like no different from you, but like you said, he's followed a certain steps, and the fact that you've got him to sort of guide you through it is amazing. When it comes to, I don't know how often you said you worked a couple of days a week, like going to the office and that, but what about like morning routines and stuff like that? How do you sort of work with that?
So I mean, up until I think this week, I've been really bad at it. Completely honest. I'm the worst at getting up early.
Download Alarmy, mate.
Yeah, but since I started listening to Think and Grow Rich, and since it almost clicked for me, it's like you need to start getting up a little bit earlier. And that's my boss has been saying that for years. You need to be. There's only certain amount of like hours in a day, and so you get up at 8 and you.
That's
work
what I'm saying. You know from like when you talk about that, like this is one thing that I always talk about with people, and like it's something I've learned is like you say, for example, you want to earn 20k a month. Like it's not just like, oh yeah, I want to earn 20, because Think and Grow Rich is like, okay, it's like repetitively, you know, because keeping up that consistency. But it's, you know, looking at your goals of, I'm going to make £20,000 a month every single morning. Like it's not going to do anything unless you take the action towards it, right? But I think that's so important as well. Is like you don't get what you want. You get what you become, in a sense. So it's like, whenever I talk about it with people, is like, okay, if you want to make X amount, like look at other people, and like you're very fortunate to literally see and know someone in that position. So exactly, and you've got this guy that, you know, however much he makes or whatever position he's in, like, you know, he's very successful. Lewis, get up earlier. Like I would be up at 3 o'clock the next morning if he was telling me that, because you know that he knows what he's talking about and he's taking steps. So no, that's incredible, mate, and I'm chuffed for you. Obviously, this is the Designer Future podcast, and I can tell, obviously, briefly where you're looking to go with property and stuff. But let's just say for like the next 12 months, like what are your goals for the next 12 months, for example?
So I think, like, say 6 months from now, I've put my goal as I want. So 6 months from now, I want 10k. That's my goal. 10k is pretty achievable, I think. So 10k in my account, that means I can do a joint venture with my boss. It means that, and it means also that I can start thinking about bringing on another member of staff, or a new for my first member of staff. But another thing, my boss said, it's good to have that lump sum goal. But for me, when cash flow is probably the biggest factor at the moment, you need a monthly like figure goal almost. So you need, so 10k is, that'd be great. But 10k is the lump sum goal. But for reference, if I was to sell a property to an investor, I get 3 to 5k out of that deal. So if I could do one deal a month, or if I can co-source and take half a fee, that's still $1.5 grand. So if I can do one of those every month, then yes, I get the 10k, but I'm also, it's bringing me out. It means I can step away from my job with my boss and fully focus on the sourcing and building the business, and then starting to build my own investments.
Out of interest, like, would you be doing that? Like, is that sort of your goal? Obviously, because like you have obviously come through this mentor, and I think you're in a pretty unique situation in that alone. It's like, you know, everyone, like a lot of people would potentially be in a 9 to 5 and doing what you're doing as like an additional thing, and they're like, fucking, I can't wait to get out of this 9 to 5. Like, I hate my boss. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, you're in a pretty unique situation of like, you're not necessarily, and it was the same as me, like working in the gym. Like, I genuinely loved working in the gym. Like, I felt like I could have retired working in that gym. So it was hard for me to be like, look, I'm going to give up this job that I love to do my own thing, which I'm hoping I love even more. So yeah, how's that sort of looking for you? Because obviously, like you said as well, you can then go into like joint ventures, and he's not obviously just your boss. He is like a friend at this point. And
no, I mean, it was, I mean, I think ever since I started working for him, it was like, I would work for you for the rest of my life. Because it's such that, it's like that environment. It's like, I know the job itself isn't that exciting. It's admin. It's quite like menial tasks. It's not super exciting. Yeah, I get to help him look at properties. I get him to help analyze deals. But my day to day, the majority of my task is emails and spreadsheets. And whilst I'm good at it, it's not something that excites me. The exciting bit for me is sourcing or finding the properties, doing like the refurb process. I'm like obsessed with. I want to learn from like rip out process to the snagging process. I want to learn every single little bit. But I know that I'm not going to be able to work for him forever because he's a family man. His family does take priority, and I'm lucky enough to like they treat me like their own now. Because I don't work in an office. I work in his house, so I'm constantly surrounded by. Because his son's one of my best friends. It doesn't really feel like going to work. So that's another unique thing. You don't normally go to work thinking you're not going to work. But I go around. I get my lunch made for me. We'll go out for dinner sometimes, and it's just like it's a very good. I'm very, very fortunate and very grateful for the opportunity. But yeah, I don't think when I'm able to step away, we've already discussed that I won't be stepping away in that sense. I'll still be going to the going around and working because I don't really have an office and I don't really want an office by myself. I'm still able to go around there and work on my own things and still pick his brain every now and then. And then he's also got another person, one of his best mate's sons, who's a little bit older than me, is getting into property. So there might be 3 of us. So it'll be like a little mini power team almost, mini mastermind. And it will just stem from there. Whereas it might be in, say, I don't know, 2 years time, 3 years time, when I start investing by myself, he might just be the investor, and I do all the legwork and he just gets a return, and that means that he can do whatever he wants with his family, and it just means that me and this other guy will be able to take on the majority of the business and just keep giving him the returns whilst he hasn't got to do much. We can still pick his brain, and that is the main thing. It's not. I'm not just going to leave as soon as if I've got that hint of success. I'm in it for the long run, and there's so much more to learn about business and property, because I mean he's had his own consultancy business, so it's like there's so much to learn from him, and I think I've only just skimmed the top. And property is his latest thing. He's only been doing property for the last 5 years, so
cool.
I came in relatively early, so I've seen his portfolio grow from say 9 properties to 20 in four years, and I think we're planning on buying as much as possible next year, depending on the deals, but hopefully 10 properties next year, and get to that 30, and then slowly move into other things. But yeah, it's not something I'm looking to step away from. It's just I'm looking to step away from the menial tasks. And he's already said that if once you've got to the point where you can step away, we'll bring someone else in who's young and wanting to learn. We'll give them both of our admin stuff, and they can learn from both of us. And I think something like that is because he genuinely likes helping like people who are interested in like from the same sort of background and whatnot. He's taken an interest in me for some reason, and it's just stemmed from there. And I'm again very grateful for what he's done for me. But yeah, I don't see myself not working for him It's just working with him instead of for him in the future. But yeah.
Amazing, man. Amazing. Well, thank you so much for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Right.
I think you dropped some
really enjoyed
serious value. Guys, for the people watching and listening, I'm going to leave Lewis's Instagram link below. Definitely go check him out. Doing some really good content on there, and sounds like he's just getting started. I'm excited to see what he gets up to in the next year or so. Guys, thank you for watching and listening, and I shall see you in the next episode. Take care. Hollywood 6.